and welcome back to Dicebreaker, where we are at PAX Unplugged 2022 here in Philadelphia, and we have been sponsored by Geek Therapeutics to talk about Realms of Kymoria. And I'm very excited to introduce you, Sean, who's going to be taking us through it. Introduce yourself to everyone.
I appreciate that, thank you. So I'm Sean, I'm the creative director at Geek Therapeutics. I also happen to be the author and the lead developer of the Realms of Kymoria setting, partnering with Alicia, who makes the two-person development team that brought everything you see to you here today. We partnered with several artists around the world to help create wonderful art that's going to be included in our project. Here we have our Quick Start Kit, which is going to come with 3 double-sided quad-folded battle maps that are board game quality, because we want to make sure that when you're setting a board game down, it's going to be easy to lay out, easy to fold up and put away. Plus, we had a matte finish to make sure that all the light that is going on in this room isn't causing reflection and you're able to see everything that is showing on the map. Yeah. Included are 84 pawns that are punched out with standees, safety cards for 4 different players at your table, a hardcover limited edition is going to be available as well that combines the 2 modules that are included in the kit. One is for the setting guide and the other is going to be for a quick start guide that has an adventure module that is 6 acts long and is designed not only to be used for fun and play at everyone's table, but is also able to be used therapeutically, as we include therapeutic encounters for people who are looking for ways to connect through geek therapy with their clients and help them heal in a setting that is built and designed with inclusivity and fun and welcoming nature from the ground up.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited that I've gotten to talk to you about this, because everything you're saying, I'm like, oh, yes, perfect. Why don't you just give us like a little bit of an idea about what Realms of Kymoria is about, like what the gameplay is like?
Sure.
That kind of thing?
So it's actually built on the Dungeons & Dragons 5e framework.
Fantastic.
And we selected that because not that we couldn't have developed the frames and the rules and the settings and everything else all from the ground up, but we wanted it to be accessible.
Yeah.
We wanted people who are teachers and clinicians and just everyday players that want to be able to go to a gaming store and feel comfortable playing to learn the rules. And by taking that framework and applying the setting that we wanted to show on top of it, we're now enabling people to have an adventure that is fun and enjoyable. They can learn how to play Dungeons & Dragons in a safer way, and they can also be taught through our module, which is designed for new game masters, to help them learn how to become a game master, be a more mindful game master, and then also go through detailed information with Session 0, how to leverage safety cards, clear information written in our modules that are dyslexic friendly, written from a perspective of ADHD and AD, and also helping people out by having it more communicative in nature. So as an example, on the book down there, you'll see our representative, Flix, who handles handing out the bounties to the adventurers. He'll be showing up through the module as Flix Tips, which is going to be our inner voice giving you insight from an experienced game master on why we're doing things in the module to help you understand how modules are written and what their intentions are, and then allow you to move on to more complex modules from anyone in the D&D multiverse, and be able to take those lessons and have an easier time when you do actually use those materials.
That's fantastic, because when I first started playing D&D 5e, I was very excited to kind of like jump in as a player, but I was like, there is no way that I can step into this as a DM or a GM because everything's so overwhelming. So this is like really beginner friendly, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's extremely beginner friendly. And the setting guide that is written in here is written from macro to micro. So it gives you the information from the grand multiverse that we've built out here, dialing all the way to the world of Kymoria, all the way to the island of Soulfile, all the way to the city of Bristleburn, to the 5 factions that are influenced there, one of which is the Limping Pony. And the Limping Pony is run by Flix. It is an adventuring guild. You need to become certified to become an adventurer. So they handle that entire process by partnering with the city and one special building that we built in here called the Society of Success.
Okay, I love that, because it seems like in D&D anyone can kind of just rock up and be like, I'm an adventurer. So yeah, it makes sense that you have to be certified. I love that. There are a few things that you've told me about so far that I'm really excited about. Can you tell us more about these kind of like safety mechanics that you have here?
Absolutely. So if you go ahead and look at the cards that are in front of you here, we have 5 safety cards that are available for a group of 4 included in the kit. These are going to be safety cards that allow for people to explore and leverage consent in gaming. Because when you're running as a game master, you can read body language And individuals can say, hey, I have a problem, but many individuals are really worried about disrupting the game or advocating for themselves.
Yeah.
But if they hold up the card quietly, they can say, pause.
Yeah.
I am confused about something and I would like to discuss it. They could hold up stop if their boundary has been crossed.
Yes.
Because during session 0, you should be talking amongst one another and sharing what your boundaries are. But session 0 isn't one and done. You should be revisiting it every single day as often as need be. So these cards allow for a bit of autonomy from your players. It's a visual cue for the GM, and there's a brief description on the back of the card in addition to just simply being visually appealing.
Yes.
So this way people can easily pop up a card, showcase, and then have a good opportunity to communicate as a group and then make sure everyone's having fun.
That's awesome. The amount of times I have been so afraid to be like, X card, like it's a scary thing to try and do.
Yeah.
Even though it's always appropriate and people are always receptive, you're still like, oh, should I chime in with this, you know? So this is very subtle and I really appreciate it. Do you have kind of like inbuilt characters, or does people like build their characters as they go?
Sure. So as I mentioned, this is built on Dungeons & Dragons 5e,
Yeah.
so all classes and all races or species, as Wizards of the Coast just recently announced, are going to be welcome here. We've already been calling all of our species, so it's going to blend
Yes.
really well. You're going to have a good time with it. We have 5 pre-made characters in here.
Okay.
And as an example here, we have Torath. In Torath, we have insight about Torath from their personality. We always list the pronouns of all the players and
Love that.
NPCs. We do have plenty of they, them, she, they, and he, they,
Fantastic.
not just as players.
Yeah.
We need to have them as NPCs too.
Yeah.
They are existing in the world, they're welcome, it's understood, and it is something that everyone is comfortable around.
Yeah.
And this information here will help guide a new player on how to roleplay, information about their class, in combat and out of combat, plus a recommended leveling up guide to level 5, and has all the information they'll need to get started quickly.
Okay.
And this information will also work for the game master, who needs to have a GM NPC ready to go and flip open and leverage. So it's definitely with the intention here is to have everyone be ready to play as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
We're talking with therapists, school teachers,
Okay.
psychologists. They have such a finite window to work with their clients. So we wanted to make sure that you can open it up and get going as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And this translates to also the busy game master. Many of us are working full-time,
Oh, yeah.
more than one job, and trying to accomplish so many other things in our daily lives that the faster you can get started, the better. Of our about 114 playtesters, the average time to get started with skimming through the setting, reading through Act 1, is about an hour.
Wow, really? An hour? Oh my goodness. That's really cool. I've been reading a lot of articles online that are saying that therapists and teachers are now seeing the value of like D&D 5e, or just D&D in general, of like connecting with like students, connecting with their clients and stuff. And this is really promising to see, and like you're really creating like a kind of gateway for that, which I really
Absolutely.
appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Can you tell me more about kind of the accessibility of like the book itself? Because you mentioned that it's kind of like easier to read if you have ADHD, maybe like myself. So
Absolutely. So I myself have ADHD and AD as well. And when we were going through the material, we wanted not only to be representative to people that needed the support, but actually design and write for them, include them in our testing, and make sure that it is good.
Yeah.
So in order to accomplish that, we partnered with experts on implicit bias and racism to help us get through that process.
Yeah.
You may know them as psychologists, psychiatrists,
Yeah.
social workers, etc. They have a license on the line to make sure that something that can't be harmful is being released to be used. And we leveraged them to help make sure that everything was written as accommodating as possible. So on our book, we have clearly defined read out louds. We use color coding, plus we use bolded headers.
perfect.
We have everything using exact spacing for line and character to help people with dyslexia. We used a very legible font. We increased the font size and accepted the fact that the books would be larger.
Yeah.
And we also have Flick's Tips over here. So Flick's is our mascot for the Limping Pony. He hands out all the adventurers, and he's a big part of the module.
Cool.
And he provides guidance and support to you as the game master to give you insight on what we're trying to achieve, help point out when it's a good time to insert homebrew right in the module,
Okay.
and then also to give you advice on if something is coming up that could be concerning, and to help you prepare for that with your players on why it needs to be concerning and the emotion that we're trying to evoke. And lastly, we have Therapeutic Encounters called out as well.
Ooh, okay.
Because role-playing is therapeutic. It makes us feel good.
It does.
But it's not therapy.
No.
You need to have a professional provide therapy and those processes and tool set and the mentality around it to help actually heal someone or help them grow as an individual. But from a therapeutic mindset, gaming is great. It makes us feel good,
Absolutely.
usually.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
And with those therapeutic encounter callouts, towards the back of the appendix, they get broken down on how they were therapeutic, and they provide a clinical note from a psychologist and a social worker.
Wow.
So that if professionals are looking for examples on how to use this in their practice, they can go to the appendix and see real examples of accepted clinical notes by insurance on how to use tabletop role-playing. And for people wanting to be mindful gamers, they just get to see insight. They get to see why real NPCs with real emotions can draw your players in and get them invested in the setting and want to care and really care as you go forward.
Absolutely. Could you give us like an example of one of the therapeutic encounters, maybe?
Absolutely. So I have highlighted on right here, with Therapeutic Encounter 3, you're working on your first mission for the Limping Pony. A mission from the Shadow Tower was sent over to you to find and eliminate a familiar that has gone rogue. The magician the familiar was associated with was experimented on. It's considered toxic, and they're worried if the familiar dies on the outside, it will harm the wildlife.
Okay.
But they don't know where it is. So they give you some information. Flix recommends, I don't want to just kill this familiar.
Yeah.
Here's a wand of speak with animals. Try to talk to it. See if you can find out what's going on, and if possible, bring it back to the guild.
Yeah.
I will handle the requirements of this mission to kill it if it does not need to be killed. So it's providing you multiple options to resolve the encounter.
Okay.
And one of the things you have to do is go and talk to people to find out where this creature is.
Yeah.
That's a therapeutic encounter. Being able to figure out who to talk to, how to advocate for your goals, how to approach and discuss with people, and who you pick. So in this situation, there will be two guards at the north gate. One is an ambasine, which is more of our insectoid-like race creatures, and one is a santush, which is kind of like a sea elf. And both of them are there. They have their information presented to you as a GM, and who they choose to pick based on how they are described helps you understand bias and preferences on what led you to choose that person or this person.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And whether or not the information they gave you was something that was accepted, because they all have their personalities. So diving into that, giving the example, giving the insight, and then showing how the different clients that were used for our examples reacted, helped to give that perspective on how just something as simple as talking to someone can help people build social skills, learn how to advocate for themselves, recognize maybe bias that they have buried deep down, and then help them recognize their own personal preferences and boundaries.
Yeah, I think it's really important because like there are things that we will do in our everyday life that we won't even clock for a second has anything to do with bias. So this is a wonderful tool to help recognize that. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
Can I say, so you mentioned the elimination aspect of this encounter that you might face. So basically it's not that you're like taking out these like tough decisions or tough scenarios, but you're just kind of like presenting people with opportunities to like speak through them, handle them in different ways.
Absolutely,
So you don't get rid of them.
We don't get rid of them at all.
Yeah.
We recognize that for players, each of the players should be able to act how they want to, and the game masters should be empowered to run the game that is most enjoyable for their session. So as we present our information, we are presenting it to people who are very new. They need as much information as possible to feel comfortable. And for anyone who's an experienced game master, it's there. You can now paraphrase, adjust, to change things around. You don't need to read it as if it is a script that must be read verbatim. And with going through and choosing to eliminate that familiar, well, that's one thing you can do, and it does account for it, and it gives you that information all throughout the module, reminding you at each key point that if they did do this thing, this will need to be altered.
Okay.
Whereas most modules will just present information as a simple straight-through railroad. They'll give you some insight on how to handle it, but they leave it up to you to track it, go forward, and continuously update everything as you move.
So there are real repercussions for the actions that you take.
There are, yes.
That's fantastic.
There's going to be situations as you play through the act that you're going to start off with a very mundane quest. You're just learning to be an adventurer.
Yeah.
And you're going to help a familiar, and you come back. And then after that, you go and you fight a wild creature from one of the outer planes. And you're dealing with someone who is exploring grief because that creature just devastated a farmstead.
Yeah.
And the key contact lost a nephew and someone else, and they're desperate for revenge, but they're injured.
Yeah.
So you get to explore grief with a real NPC that is going through those emotions.
Wow.
And all those ramifications all build upon one another and come to a climax in Act 6.
Oh, fantastic. That's amazing. Can I mention as well, the artwork is beautiful.
Thank you so much.
It stands out so nicely, and as soon as you brought it out, I was like, ooh, this is really exciting. Like how did you come about getting the artwork done?
Sure. So the artwork was a combination of a couple of things. First, some of the artwork is what I did myself.
Oh, wow.
The sketches and concept art is where I worked with our primary artist, Al Bani.
Okay.
And we also had 4 other artists that we worked with around the world. And it was these 5 artists, plus the 2 of us, that helped conceptualize and create everything from the ground up. And the artwork that you're seeing here is from Al. The artwork on most of the pawn tokens are Flick's representative, all from Al as well. He's been an absolute delight to work with.
Fantastic.
And we're so happy that we were able to get connected with him. And he is a huge advocate for the system as well.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And also the actual elements of kind of like the box and everything, they're very special as well. Like you've got tokens that are really easy to pop out, and like a box where you can only need 2 fingers to like actually take things out.
You're correct.
Yeah.
So our box is going to be about 10 pounds. It is still pretty heavy.
Yeah.
However, when the box is open, we did not want to have it so that you would damage your items or products. So there's a ribbon right at the top that lifts the entire top half out, able to slide your quick start guide, your adventure module, the tokens, the pre-made character sheets, as well as the default character sheet, all up and out. Then every single piece comes out as a modular point, revealing the GM screen and the battle maps below, and it all goes right back in the same way, so you don't have to then figure out how to store it either. It just all comes in and goes out nice and smoothly.
That's wonderful. So to clarify as well, this isn't just for therapists and teachers, this is for everyone, right?
Everyone, absolutely.
Okay. Wonderful stuff. I have one more very important question.
Sure.
Who is this?
That is the Barb Tar. So the Barb Tar is going to be our monster mascot. We absolutely had to make it in a plush similar to Squishmallow material. And it's adorable. It's hangry.
Oh,
So
aren't we all?
absolutely. So Barb Tars are strict vegetarians. They will only eat vegetables. They have a difficult time telling who it belongs to. They do believe all vegetables belong to them as an individual. Think if a guinea pig was turned into an angry bush and let loose on a farmstead. So they make their hunger everyone's problem.
Okay.
And they're adorable, they're fun, they show up in our first act, and they are an absolute delight. And here at PAX Unplugged, we're actually able to make them into a penny arcade pin. So we're super happy with everyone coming by and being excited about getting their own little monster mayhem. And we've been seeing him on social media and loving it.
Excellent, excellent. I love that. Is there anything else really important that you want to tell us about the game before you go?
Sure. So there's a couple little key points I want to highlight. When we were going through the material and we were designing and developing it, obviously inclusivity was a big thing, and we wanted to make sure we had good representation across the board. So I want to circle back to the Society of Success.
Yes.
Well, what the Society of Success does is it creates an actual vehicle as a building for the GM to have an open discussion with their player about how they would like to have their disability or character or themselves represented in the game. And it shows how that society sponsors that person trained them how to learn to become an adventurer, and then goes into the certification process with the limping pony. Rather than creating just hard rules, like this is how this is, here's the mechanics, we give simple, short examples, but we emphasize the communication. Share with it, talk with each other, and their mission statement is everyone can be an adventurer, nothing is stopping you, we're here to help you. So that was a really big part of us. The Limping Pony and Society's success are absolutely key representatives to what we always hoped would have been available in a tabletop role-playing setting.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm so excited about. Can you tell us about where to find you, where to find Realms of Kymoria? Just let us know.
Sure. So as of right now, we are actually, as you can see, the product is done. We are front-loading the whole project. We're going to be launching on Kickstarter and also through BackerKit in February. You can reserve Realms of Kymoria for $1 on BackerKit at get.realmsofkymoria.com, and that'll get you 40% off of this 10-pound kit.
Okay.
And if you sign up for us on Kickstarter, you'll be able to benefit from the early bird announcements as well. Again, we're going to be launching in February. It will be a 30-day Kickstarter, and then we're looking to have fulfillment in just 6-7 months coming to your door. We're not going to be using any of that money for development. It's just going to be for print production, and then to reinvest into the setting and the world, and then grow from there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sean. That information will also be available in the description, so you can check that out down below. But thank you so much for joining us. This has been Dicebreaker at PAX Unplugged with Geek Therapeutics. Thank you so much. If you want to find out more information about the people that we're covering at PAX, you can stay tuned. That we'll be having a bunch of stuff coming out throughout the month, so you can catch us here. If you liked what you saw, feel free to subscribe, like the video, go to dicebreaker.com in order to find some articles about PAX Unplugged, about all sorts of things tabletop. And thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day.